Welcome to Michigan's WW1 Centennial News Report for December 2012, titled Michigan Muffins. I'm host Dennis Skupinski. On April 6, 1917, the United States entered the First World War. At first, there were individual efforts in order to save food and other items. Housewives and school children signed pledges saying that they would not leave a single scrap of food on their plate and not eat in between meals. This changed in August 1917 with the passage of the Lever Act. The Lever Act allowed the President to establish the U.S. Food Administration, which controlled all aspects of food. The U.S. Food Administration was headed by Herbert Hoover. He probably had the most experience of anybody in the United States because he ran the Belgian relief effort, which supplied food to Belgium in 1915. Mr. Hoover's strategy was simple: continue on with Americans making sacrifices, have business get involved, and have the United States government lead the effort by educating businesses and individuals on how they could best save food. During this episode, we're going to take a look at the U.S. Food Administration and some of the posters they printed up to educate the American housewife on how to produce menus that would save food items such as meats, sugar, wheat flour, and vegetable oils. We're also going to take a look at a cookbook produced by Procter & Gamble and authored by leading cook of the day, Janet McKenzie Hill. Finally, we're going to take one of the recipes from the Wartime Recipes cookbook and actually bake it. What we're going to bake is called Michigan Muffins. And what we're going to do is we're going to substitute soy flour for wheat flour, and we're going to substitute Crisco for butter. And for sweetening, we're going to use honey instead of sugar. So sit back and enjoy Michigan's WW1 Centennial News Report.
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of...
Wartime Recipes by Janet McKenzie Hill in association with the Procter & Gamble Company and the U.S. Food Administration. Janet McKenzie Hill was an early practitioner of culinary reform, food science, and scientific cooking, and was founder of the Boston Cooking School magazine in 1896. In August 1917, Congress passed the Food and Fuel Control Act, also known as the Lever Act. With the authority and power granted to him by Congress in the legislation on August 10, 1917, President Woodrow Wilson issued Executive Order 2679-A, creating the U.S. Food Administration. In doing so, he created a government entity to replace an existing volunteer organization. The U.S. Food Administration, operating in each state, was to assure the supply, distribution, and conservation of food during the war, facilitate transportation of food and prevent monopolies and hoarding, and maintain governmental power over foods by using voluntary agreements and a licensing system. Herbert Hoover, former head of the Belgian Relief Organization, lobbied for and won the job of administrator of the Food Administration. Hoover, who made clear to President Wilson that a single authoritative administrator should head the effort, not a board. This, he believed, would ensure an effective federal organization. He further insisted that he accept no salary. Taking no pay, he argued, would give him the moral authority he needed to ask the American people to sacrifice to support the war effort. As he later wrote in his memoirs, his job was to ask people to go back to simple food, simple clothes, simple pleasures. As head of the U.S. Food Administration, Hoover, given the authority by President Wilson, became a food dictator. The Lever Act had given the president power to regulate the distribution, import, export, purchase, and storage of food. Wilson passed that authority on to Herbert Hoover. To succeed, Hoover designed an effort that would appeal to the American sense of volunteerism. Herbert Hoover called for patriotism and sacrifices that would increase production and decrease food consumption. Food, Hoover and the administration proclaimed, would win the war. No aspect of people's lives remained unchanged. Under Hoover's direction, the Food Administration, in a league with the Council of Defense, urged all homeowners to sign pledge cards that would testify to their efforts to conserve food. The government boards issued the appeal on Friday. By the following week, Americans had embraced wheatless Mondays, meatless Tuesdays, porkless Saturdays. One of the recipes in the wartime recipe book is called Michigan Muffins. This was designed to save wheat. First of all, you're going to need a cupful of barley or oat flour, a half a cup of wheat flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1 egg that's beaten lightly, 3 tablespoons full of Crisco melted, and 1 cupful of thick sour cream or sour milk. This recipe, you're saving over a cup of flour by using either barley or oat flour. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take all the dry ingredients and sift them into a bowl. Then you're going to add the egg, Crisco, and sour cream and beat thoroughly. Bake in a well-Criscoed muffin pan at about 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Then as the pan cools, remove the Michigan muffins and serve them with honey. Because remember, during the wartime, they were trying to save butter. So that's the reason, and sugar. So that's the reason why they're using honey to sweeten the Michigan muffins. This simple Michigan muffins recipe saved over 1 cup of wheat flour and about a half a stick of butter and some sugar. Just think if we multiply that by the millions of households in the United States during the First World War, how much that would save. Thank you for watching Michigan's World War I Centennial News. To find out more information about the First World War and recipes from this episode, visit Michigan's World War I Centennial on Facebook.
They were summoned from the hillside, they were called in from the glen, and the country found them ready at the stirring call for men. Let no tears add to their hardships as the soldiers pass along, and although your heart is breaking, make it sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are young.